some manufacturers that have come under extreme pressure now face the very real threat of closure. It's a reality that seems to have reignited the debate around government subsidies. And Renato Palmi, director of the ReDress Consultancy, joins me on the line now to give us some perspective there. Thanks so much, Renato, for joining us this afternoon. Well, share with us your perspective on the situation on the ground at the moment and the realities that South Africa's textile industry currently has to contend with.
Afternoon, Alicia. Yes, a lot is going on in the industry. A lot of retrenchment, debate. Is it a sunset industry? Are we seeing the disintegration of the industry? There's a lot of concern about it for numerous reasons as well. And these are the reasons, or the same reasons that come up year after year, and that is cheaper imports. Can we in South Africa compete on a global stage? Is our labour skilled enough, or is South African major retail chain stores supporting the local industry? And then, of course, the tariffs, and also a big thing that has been highlighted just from the World Cup, but also in the last year or two, is then the amount of illegal imports coming into the country. Mm-hmm. So those are the main issues that faces the industry.
Well, with all of this, we've now got some debate around government subsidies being reignited. What's your view on government support that should be lent to players operating in this market?
We have had from government, and I must, first of all, the government has tried their best, but I think we in South Africa we're very good at bringing up policies and lots of documents and ideas, but to implement those on the ground, it's a very different thing from bringing out very nice-looking presentations and policies. And government has put out a number of policies, and yes, they are looking at reinvesting or investing money into the sector again. But is this sustainable? And the argument I'm making, and a number of people have made, is that where are you putting these investments into? Which companies? Surely we need to look at the profile of the companies and see what they're doing is sustainable, and can they manage the money, because a lot of money has been wasted. And the IDC, which is one of the government funding division that's putting money into it, last week admitted that they've lost millions of rands worth of investment in the clothing sector because they've put money into a business, and the business has, for whatever reason, has closed.
Of course, that working to fuel much of the debate at the moment on whether subsidies are a good idea or not in the first place. Many questions around whether we're creating a false sense of security. So how, in your opinion, should this be handled, where the businesses can eventually sustain themselves on their own, without government having created a crutch that they would be dependent on for future success?
I think there are a number of ways we could approach it. First of all, I think the key element, in my opinion and analysis, is that all the sectors, the different sectors, and bear in mind the clothing sector is made up of really three key players, and that is the clothing, the textile, and the fashion sector, which fashion is coming to play a very important role. The three of them do not talk together, and then the three separate sectors do not talk, or they cross talk with government, and so I think really, and each one has got their own agenda and their own unique problems. So I really do believe that they need to come and sit down and really map out a unified collective strategy, because at the moment what government is trying to do is appease each sector and each role player in the industry. And furthermore, another element that's just come up in the last few hours, really, I've been doing some research around is that whom do we have in the industry that as a representative body? And I'm not talking about the unions or the bargaining council, but I'm talking about industry representation bodies. The Textile Export Council has closed. There was another organisation that was representing the clothing. They have been also closed, and I believe there is now a new organisation, but we don't know much about it. So I think the sector themselves need to sort themselves out first, and then come together with a unified approach. and find mechanisms. And yes, I agree with you that putting funding or putting bailouts does give a false sense of strength and a false sense of economy to the sector. But there are different ways. I'm making an argument now that maybe we need to go back and look again at quotas. You know, we had a few years ago the quota restrictions on Chinese imports. Maybe we need to look at quotas again, and talk to the unions and upgrade the skills. I still believe that there is potential here, but we're having a diminishing amount of people entering the industry. We've got a lot of people who've been in the industry a long time. They are either being retrenched or they are retiring, and with their retirement or their retrenchment goes skills, and there's no uptake of skills. So we need to have a drive of telling people why that, first of all, that the industry is not going to disintegrate, that there is potential, and why one can or should enter the sector, and what are the potentials around there. And I do believe that we can get it together.
We've been looking at various ways government can intervene, and very much on, in the spotlight has been whether we should see intervention from government side to manipulate the level of the rand. What kind of argument or policy in that regard makes sense for you, from your point of view, for the textile industry? Should we see some intervention in terms of the level the rand is sitting at right now?
Not at all, because I mean, if we manipulate the rand for just to back up or to support or give a pillar to one sector, it's going to affect various different other sectors in the entire economy. So I do not believe that we should do that. However, I think that we could give some incentives. You know, the big barrier that the industry faces is that if you look at countries like China, there's a lot of government incentives. They get low interest rates if they're buying equipment. So there's a number of creative ways we can do it without having to have a huge effect on the economy.